the heartache now demanding to be aired. I share it not for voyeurism's sake, but because remedying injustice begins with confronting it. The story, once roused, asked questions most disquieting. How does a 21-year-old college dropout like Jeffrey weasel his way into a job at an elite prep school where his female students, way back in the 1970s, noted his lecherous gaze? How could Jeffrey and Ghislaine operate a rape pyramid scheme for 20-plus years, all as the powerful leaders they hobnobbed with didn't notice, didn't care, or became involved and thus feared retribution? How did an unsuspecting young woman like me, the grandchild of a wealthy British baron who rubbed elbows with Ghislaine's father, become ensnared in this web of perversion? And how can Ghislaine, along with 3 other women involved in my abuse, now claim to have known nothing about the assaults I actually witnessed them orchestrating? Some of these questions still confound me. All, among others, I'll explore. In a world where a lot of lip service is given to female empowerment, where sisters stand arm in arm in the name of #MeToo and #TimesUp, Jeffrey employed scores of women in carrying out his crimes. Some of those he abused became abusers, putting forward their own families as his casualties. This master puppeteer, crafty as he was, couldn't have sustained this transatlantic operation on his own. In addition to the enablers whose silence he purchased, Jeffrey had the alliance of a tribe of women who, as they profited, knew precisely what was happening to the girls they sent him. I was lured by such a woman into Jeffrey's crosshairs, on a day I now wish I could do over. You'll hear much in this book about the process of grooming, how connivers woo victims by first forging an emotional connection, how they maintain control through threats and carrot dangling. In our years-long conversation on sexual violation, our culture hasn't yet truly grasped the nuances of that conditioning. We understand it in broad strokes. An antagonist sets a trap, a hapless deer wanders in. But many don't absorb the particulars. They don't recognize how a perpetrator sniffs out the most vulnerable prey, how a would-be victim actually emanates despair. They don't realize just how frequently assailants sit at our dinner tables, not the stranger dangers we spot coming, but the charmers we've grown to trust. Then, when a survivor discloses her abuse, some forget the manipulation and look instead at her skirt length. What was she doing in a club? How much cleavage did she bear? How red was her lipstick? How high were her stilettos? She brought it on herself, the thought often goes. She flirted, drank too much, asked for it. A certain kind of woman is most likely to be believed. The chaste, the young and doe-eyed, the white and the heterosexual. I aim to widen the circle of whom we deem credible. I've made regretful choices in the name of survival and acted at times in breathless desperation. I am not perfect, and that is the point. I want to encourage a culture in which survivors, even if they haven't led spotless lives, even if they're not proud of all their behavior, still feel the right to stand in their truth. Because while we're in rapidly changing times, when more and more sufferers are daring to speak up, rape remains one of the most underreported violent crimes across the globe. If only the fully virtuous deserve a hearing, then no one born human should ever have a day in court. The story that follows is all my own. At turns raw and revolting, lilting and unmeasured. It's an account not just of trafficking and sexual subjugation, but of generational patterns, of spirits passed down from parent to child, of songs and prayers whispered in the dark. It is the memory of a girl, lost and utterly broken,